Okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to do a little activity, and I just want to talk quickly about it because I don't want you to get confused. All right, there's going to be some things that we do that are technical aspects of this activity, but you have to understand that the overriding idea of this exercise is for you to prove to me that you understand the rule of thirds. So by now, by the time you're watching this video and beginning this exercise, you should already have a basic understanding of the rule of thirds and what a center of interest is. Okay, so in Google Classroom, you should have received two files. One is called Follows the Rule of Thirds template. The other one is called Not the Rule of Thirds template. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, you're going to use these templates and fill in these blanks that you see here. Sorry, I was interrupted. You're going to fill in these blanks, which are these gray areas, with images that you find on the internet. Two of these internet images should follow the rule of thirds, and two of them should not follow the rule of thirds. So what does that mean? Basically, as long as the center of interest is offset from the absolute middle of the image, it can be considered following the rule of thirds. The other, the not rule of thirds, you will find images where the subject or the center of interest is right in the middle, and those are the ones you're going to use on this template. Okay, so let's talk about exactly how we're going to get this into these templates and how you're going to draw lines that represent the rule of thirds fairly easily. Okay, so I'm going to do one follows the rule and one that does not follow the rule. And then obviously, you guys are going to have to do two that follow and two that don't for this demonstration. I'm just going to do one of each. All right, so if I go to the internet, and in my case, I did a search for strong composition photography. And you'll notice, by the way, when I did that search, you'll find images that already have the rule of thirds lines and the axes in them. Do not use those images. Do not use images that already have the lines on them. Instead, find images, and you're going to find the images, and we're going to add the lines to them. So the first one I'm going to do is this sort of sunken old boat sunset here. And I'm going to right click and copy this, and then go to my follow the rules of thirds template, and I'm going to paste this in there. Now understand, before I scale this down, that these template files that I gave you came with guides in them. All right, so you need to go to View, Guides, where Show Guides, there we go, or Control semicolon, and you'll see these guides. So basically, these guides are a breakdown of the image. The empty image spaces where you're supposed to fill these images. So I'm going to fill this one on the left side, and it's too big, obviously, right? Which is a good thing, right? We always want to be able to scale down. We never want to have to scale up. So I'm going to free transform this, edit, free transform, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit and grab the bottom right, and I'm going to scale this up. Now, the biggest reason why people lose points in this activity is if they don't hold shift to scale their image uniformly. So if I do this without holding shift, I squash, I stretch, I stretch, I squash my image to try to fit it in there perfectly. That's not what you want to do. You have to hold down shift and get this image in there. Now, a lot of you are going to have something that looks like this. I do have snap on as well, because this will allow us to snap our image to guides. So let's say I wanted to snap the top left corner to the top left guide right here. I can do that, and then I can scale this up. I can do that at any time, but you can see it doesn't fit perfectly. In fact, I'm going to make it not fit perfectly at all. You can see it goes over on the outside of my borders. So understand that, again, we want to fill the gray area. The white areas outside should be left alone. They should be white when you're finished. They should be very clean. So what we have to do, if your image is a little bit too big, we have to do what I call trim the excess fat, which means I've got to get rid of these pixels that are below this line right here, below this guide. You may also want to go in and show guides. I thought we were able to lock guides. Maybe in Photopea we can't lock guides. So just be careful with when you have your move tool not to move your guides. You can see my cursor changes and I can move those if I want. We don't want to move guides. What I do want to do is get my rectangular marquee tool, and I'm going to click outside and drag in until it snaps to this guide, and then I'm just going to hit backspace. Hopefully, backspace. There we go. Control D to deselect, and again, go from the outside in to that guide that creates that border there, and again, I'm going to hit backspace. So now we just trim the excess fat, and we have an image that fits perfectly in there. Now, what we want to do is we want to take these pixels that make this image up and copy them and paste them into a new canvas. Then we are going to draw the lines that represent the rule of thirds on that canvas. We don't want to do it in here, okay, because we have some problems. It's easier to do it on another canvas and keep it clean and then bring it back in here, all right? So to grab these pixels, I'm going to get my rectangular marquee tool. I'm going to go up as close as I can to where these guides cross. I'm going to left click, hold, and drag, and it should snap into the bottom right corner. I now have them all selected. I'm going to hit Control C to copy. Go to File, New. Remember, it detected our clipboard. It's going to be 10 by 8. I'm going to create, and I'm going to Control V to paste. Now again, I can see by my rulers that my image is 10 inches wide by 8 inches tall. So now I have to draw my lines, and to draw our lines we're going to use our pencil tool, but before we get there we're going to create guides that will show us our rule of thirds, and these guides can change depending on image size, so we have to figure out our thirds. So we have to do a little bit of math. Again, if I go to image size and I look at my inches, it's 10 by 8, so 10 wide by 8. So I have to divide them into thirds. I should have 9 equally sized squares going across this image. How do we do that? Well, we have to take a third of 10. So what is 1/3 of 10? Those of you that are good at math will come up with that easily. Some of you may not. All we have to do is divide 10 by 3. So I'm actually going to get my calculator and go 10 divided by 3 equals 3.333. Okay, I can remember that. I also have to divide 8, which is our height, by 3. 8 divided by 3 equals 2.666. So what we want to do is we want to create another new canvas, File, New, that is 3.333, oops, not 000, 333 inches wide. And what did I say the other one was? 2.666 high. 2.666 high. Go create. Now I've got this little white rectangle. I'm going to select all. Control A to select all. Control C to copy. Go back to my image. Control V to paste. And now on a new layer we have this box that if we have our move tool we can move it around. And again, because I have select on, snap on, I can snap it up to the top left corner. Now please follow this closely and try to understand what we're doing, because you're going to have to do this exact thing 3 more times to get all of your images ready to put back into the template files. All right, so now that I have a third, all I have to do is go over inside of my ruler, left click and drag a guide out, and now I have one of my axis lines. Now I go to the top inside of the ruler, left click, drag out, and now I have the top horizontal portion of my rule of thirds. And now, very simply, if I just move this square into the middle and I snap it to here, I now have the dimensions for the other 2 guides. One there, again one from the top down, and now if I just hide that layer, you'll see that I have my rule of thirds. I have the width is broken into 3, the height is broken into 3, and now we have 9 equal sized rectangles in the middle of our image created by our guides. Now for the next step, we're just going to use our pencil tool and draw with red lines that cover our canvas where these guides are. So I'm actually going to do this, and you're going to want to do this in a new layer. So I'm going to create a new empty layer by clicking that icon. I'm going to go get my pencil tool, and I'm going to change my foreground color to red. So move that all the way up, choose red, click OK. And now I'm going to set the width. In fact, this year I think I'm going to make it 2 pixels, which is very small, and you can barely see it. And now I'm going to go up above my canvas and match that little, and you have to get this close, it does not have to be perfect, but I'm lining up my cursor with that guide. I'm going to left click and hold, then I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to draw straight down, which didn't seem to work. So let's try that again. Let's see if we can see it. There we go. I don't want that. I'm going to go up to the very top. Maybe Photopea doesn't let us draw. There we go. As soon as I hold down shift and I left click, and then we're going to do it here again. I'm drawing a line straight. The line is staying straight because I have shift held. Again. And left click, hold down shift and draw it there. You can see that one's a little high, but it's close enough. Now if I hide my guides, go to show guides, you will see that I have the rule of thirds in a separate layer. Now all I have to do is flatten my image, right click, go to flatten image, select all, Control A, Control C to copy, and then I go back over to my rule of thirds template and I Control V and paste my image in there. Once again, I want to show my guides, get my move tool, and because I have snap on, I can move this directly over here and it'll snap perfectly into my gray area. Now I can just get rid of that original layer. So you're going to do that same process one more time for the follows the rule of thirds template, and you're going to do it 2 times for the not follow the rule of thirds template. So how do we do the not rule of thirds image? Well, you don't necessarily have to find an image where the subject is perfectly centered, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to find another one that actually follows the rule of thirds. Let's see, oh, I like this one right here. And this one follows the rule of thirds because the subject or the center of interest is this little tree on top of this hill. There's nice contrast there. It's different than anything else on this image, so that's definitely our center of interest. And I'm going to right click, copy the image, go back into Photopea, into my not rule of thirds template, and paste it. All right, so unfortunately this image is a little bit too small, but if we still, I'm gonna have to find a bigger one. I apologize. I'm gonna delete that. I gotta find a pretty big image in order to do what I want to show you. Okay, so I went back to Google and found a bigger image. This one right here, this little snowflake, this follows pretty much the rule of thirds as the snowflake, the center of interest is offset. It's not perfectly centered, but we're gonna force it into the center in our not rule of thirds image. So I'm gonna copy the image. I'm gonna go back to Photopea, my not rule of thirds template, paste it. And I'm going to move this so that, and I'm just eyeballing the exact middle of this snowflake right in the middle of our canvas. And again, I'm just going to get it close. Now, once again, we have excess fat. So I'm going to get my marquee tool and I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to go outside in, backspace, outside in until it snaps to my guide, backspace, outside in, backspace, outside in, backspace. And now Control D to deselect. Once again, select the overall image. Copy, file, new. 13.89 by 11.11. That doesn't make any sense. I'm going to close that. Should be 10 inches. So let's copy that again. Edit, copy. Make sure that worked. File, new. Let's check something real quick. Okay, I realized what happened, and it was a mistake by me, but it's okay. We're going to have some fun with math. So I'm going to copy this, like I said already, and I'm going to go to File, New, and it's a little bit off. That's okay. We're going to create, Control V to paste. And now I got to check my image size once again. So I've got 13.89. So what is 1/3 of 13.89? I can't do that in my head. So I'm going to divide 13.89 divided by 3 equals, and I'm actually going to write this on a piece of paper, 4.63. And then I'm going to do the height, which is 11.11. 11.11 divided by 3 equals 3.70. We'll just round it down to 3.70, and I'm going to close that. And then I'm going to go to File, New. We're going to create that little white box again, and we're going to write or type those numerals in that I just copied down. 4.63 by 3.7. Create. Control A to copy, or select all. Control C to copy. Go back to that image. Control V to paste. Again with my move tool and snap-on, move it up there. Grab guides. You can see a pattern here. This is the same thing we did with the rule of thirds one. Now I'm just going to move this down into the middle. Again, grab another guide. And I'm going to try to do this very quickly because hopefully you should be understanding what's going on. Create a new layer. Get my pencil tool. Come up to the top here, click. Sometimes it doesn't want to draw for some reason, so let's make sure it wants to draw. Draw. Control Z to undo. There we go. Holding down Shift to get my straight line. Click. Oops, it got squiggly. Make sure you click, then hold down Shift before you start drawing straight down. Off the side, click, hold down Shift. Off to the side, click, hold down Shift. I'm going to get rid of layer 2. I'm going to flatten my image. If I hide my guide, you'll see that I have my rule of thirds. And I got pretty close with the center of interest. It's close enough. Flatten my image. Control A to select all. Control C to copy. Go back to my not rule of thirds. And Control V to paste. Show my guides. Control semicolon. Again, will show and hide guides. Snap that into place. Get rid of layer 1. And I have my first image done. Okay, again, you're going to have to do that one more time for not the rule. Make sure you do it one more time for follows the rule. You can manipulate these. Just do not squash and stretch them. Okay, don't squash and stretch them. That's the number 1 rule for this assignment. So good luck. I know this is a long video. I apologize. I know I fumbled a couple of times due to Photopea translation when I have Photoshop in my head, but take your time, get this right. It's pretty simple. Again, I want you to prove to me that you understand the rule of thirds, what it is, what it isn't. And so now you can start actually using a compositional rule in your work to make your work much more appealing, make it more aesthetically pleasing. In the end, by the way, you need to flatten these, save as JPEGs, and submit both files to the assignment in Google Classroom.